Be ready to go, Rabbi.
Ready to roll?
Ready to roll.
Don't be back to back. Moshe Favel, back to back. I see you guys are gluttons for punishment. Don't worry, it's a different vort. Were you nervous?
Recording has started, Rabbi.
Okay. Rashi in Behar, very famous. Rashi tells us the famous medrash, Ma Inyan Shmita Eitzel Har Sinai. Then we know that this week's parsha discusses the Inyan of Shemitah, and it connects it Behar Sinai. That's the name of the parsha, Behar. What's the connection of Shemitah to Har Sinai? And much has been said. Of course, it's Rashi's pshat, the connection of Har Sinai to Shemitah, the Klalim, the Pratim, just like every mitzvah, the Klalim and the Pratim were said, so to at Sinai, everything was said. But there is obviously much more in the connection of Shemitah and Har Sinai that we have to try to appreciate and understand, especially in the days that we're living in these most memorable times. There's no question that we're going to look back at these days, these weeks, and years from now, and we're going to bask in the gedula, what we came out of these years, what we came out of these weeks, Khalil years, what we came out of these weeks and what we came out of these times. But we have to try to understand Ma'inyan Shemitah Eitzel Har Sinai. The lesson of Shemitah is like the Medrash says, Ki li kol haaretz. The whole world is mine, the Rebbeinu Shalom says. And the only people that he talks to are the people that listen. So he says it in Eretz Yisrael. Ki li kol haaretz. He tells it to the Yidden. It's all mine, Klal Yisrael. So then listen to me, and for 1 year, show the whole entire world that everything is mine. Ki li kol haaretz. And that's really what the whole idea of Shemitah is. That there's nothing that's yours. Everything is the Rebbeinu Shalom's. Ki li kol haaretz. It's all the Rebbeinu Shalom's. I remember in the last Shemitah, this is already coming up to the next Shemitah, in Tavshin Ayin Hey, I went with a group of Bachrim. It was the Shemitah year, and in Esreigim in Eretz Yisrael, you can get the Esreigim by the Shemitah fields, by the people, the Shemrei Shemitah. So you went there and you got the fields. I think some of you even came with me, possibly. We went Esreig picking. And over there you saw, as far as the eye can see, Esreigim trees. As far as you can see, all acres and acres and acres of Esreigim trees. And when you look from far, it looked so beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Esreigim trees. But as you got closer, you saw some of the trees that they were becoming balimum and all the difficulty. There's certain things you're allowed to do in Shemitah, a lot of things you're not allowed to do. And you saw these trees that were being ruined, and you saw an entire parnasa. There are people that this is their own entire parnasa, that they're ganze famegin, the whole world. And you saw what it was. And not Rabbi say, it's not so simple. That after the end of Shemitah, you'll be able to get back to the same matziv. You know how difficult it is? You close your shop for a year. Some of us have closed our shops for 6 weeks, for 7 weeks, for 8 weeks, and we're very nervous about how we're going to start up again. Kavachaymer, imagine trying to recultivate an entire esrog orchard. It's noira noiroyas. And the owner of this orchard was there, the owner of this esrog, a farm, whatever you call it, plantation. And I went over to talk to him. And I told him, it's unbelievable what you do over here. It's a tremendous chizik in Amunah. It's a tremendous chizik in Bitachin for all those that see it. It's just a murder gazach to see a person that closes up shop for a year and that he's not worried. And then what'll be next year? No, the Erev shall help him. And there's lots of coolers that throw around the Boisai in Eretz Yisrael, which are all bottle and mavutal. But if you're not in a Bal Bitachin and you're not a Maimin, so then you hear the coolers, Rabbi Isai. You'll hear all the weird things that people say. Because when it comes to my fameg in my pocket and my parnasa, so then you'll hear something. And this person, he didn't look exactly like, we'll call it into the mention, forever could that is. And you know what he said to me? He said to me, Liza lo kasher. For me, it is not difficult. Lama? Kize lo sheli. Because it's not mine. Because li koila oretz. Because the Rebbeinu Shalom says it's all mine. You just have to listen when the Rebbeinu Shalom talks and he says it's all mine. And in these days, Rabbi say that we're living in a world that I think we all feel it. It's all mine. It's all mine. Nothing that we have is mine. Not my health, not my wealth, not my anything, not my stability, not my ability to leave my house, not my peace of mind. Nothing's mine. It's all the Rebbeinu Shalom's. And the person that puts himself into the mindset, into the frame of mind, that it's all mine. I told the story over to somebody else once. The story about the Esrog, I told him at the time when we were in Shemitah, I told him it was a American balabas, it's a geschmacker. He said to me, it's a good thing the Rebbeinu Shalom didn't say Shemitah in America. I wouldn't have lasted 1 week. But the attitude, the shkafa Rabbi said, li kola oretz. It's all mine, the Rebbeinu Shalom says. And when you have that attitude, and that's the attitude of Torah, that's the attitude of Har Sinai. What's the attitude of Sinai? That everything in this world is the Rebbeinu Shalom's. The only thing that is yours is that which came at Har Sinai, and that's Torah. Because li kol haaretz, and the only thing that the Rebbeinu Shalom ki lekech tov nasati lachem, that which the Rebbeinu Shalom did give you is Torah. The only thing that's yours is Torah and mitzvahs and nothing else. And who doesn't see that in these days now? In these days, when a person he knows, when it comes to, he's worried about his panas, he's worried about his health, he's worried about this. But when he sits down to learn a daf gemara, and he comes to daven, he comes to talk, so the davening could be just as good, if not better, than when it was before this matziv. And when it comes to learn a blat gemara, he connects himself. He goes into the Gan Eden of Abaye. He goes into the Gan Eden of a Rav Ashi, Rabbi Kiva Eger, and he's in there, and the whole entire world disappears because li kol haaretz, everything else that you thought is yours, that's the Rebbeinu Shalom. And the only thing that's yours is the Har Sinai, Ma'inyin, Shemitah, Eitel Har Sinai, to teach you nothing is yours except for that which was given at Har Sinai, Rabbi Isai. There's a Maisa in of a Yid, it was a gewaltige Yid, an alte Yid, his name was Rav Tukan. This Yid, he was a very wealthy person before the war, and he went to the Chavetz Chaim. He had a business. He went to the Chavetz Chaim. The Chavetz Chaim, he came to the Chavetz Chaim for a bracha. The Chavetz Chaim said to him, the first question that the Chavetz Chaim, it was in 1930, he saw the Chavetz Chaim. The Chavetz Chaim was alte Yid at the time, very alte Yid. And the Chavetz Chaim said to him, do you own a house? Very strange thing. Imagine a person traveled for many years, for many days to come to see the Chavetz Chaim. He traveled on trains and whatnot. Comes into the Chavetz Chaim expecting to see the tzaddik, getting maybe the Chizzuk, getting a bracha. And the first words that came out of the Chavetz Chaim's mouth is, "Do you own your own house?" That's maybe how one balabas says to another balabas. But the Chavetz Chaim, do you own your own house? So he said to the Chavetz Chaim, yes. He says to him, no, you don't. He said to him, yes, I do. So the Chavetz Chaim told him, you don't own your own house. You don't own your own house. It's not your house. He said to him, what does the Chavetz Chaim mean? So the Chavetz Chaim told him again, it's not your house. And the Chavetz Chaim mumbled something under his breath, Torah, mitzvahs, and then the Chavetz Chaim fell asleep. That's how he said over the story. It probably doesn't mean the Chavetz Chaim fell asleep. It means the Chavetz Chaim probably had enough. So upon him, years later, this Yid told over. This Yid was himself a Grace Maimon. He said, when the Germans in Machshimon V'Zichron, when those monsters from Gehenna, when they came to the town, and they took him and they dragged him out of his house, and they dragged everybody out of the house. And he said, when they put them by the pit that they made them dig by themselves, and they were shooting with their rishis, all of the Eden, and one by one they were all falling into the pit, and he also fell into the pit. And he said, when he waited until everybody had fallen on top of him, and he said, deep into the night, when he came out of the pit, and he went back to his house, and at that point already the Germans had left they left the town already. They did their rishis and they'd already left the town. So one of the Rishayim from the neighboring Goyim was standing by the door of his house, and he said to him, Zid, go away, Jew, this is not your house. And at that moment he realized with the words of the Eilika Chavetz Chaim that there's nothing that is mine. In this world, there's nothing that's mine. And the only thing he understood when he was lying in the pit that's his is the Torah and the mitzvahs. There's nothing else that's yours except for the Torah and except for the mitzvahs. How much roimimis Torah gives us. How much roimimis in this matziv we can have, Rabbi Isai, when we connect ourselves to Torah and mitzvahs. But Rabbi Isai, let me be Messiah with one thought. Rabbi Isai, in the history of Klal Yisrael, never in the history of the whole entire world, never in the history of the whole entire world has there been a matziv where basically Kemat the whole entire Klal Yisrael missed laning Vayikra in shul. Not in the time of the World War II. There were definitely shuls that were going on. Not in World War I. Not in the times of previous Magefis. Not in the time ever. When was there a time? Even when Klal Yisrael, after the Churban, when they were leaving Eretz Yisrael and going into Bavel, on the road they had Sifrei Torah and they laned Vayikra. There's no Shaila, they were maybe in the middle of Galus somewhere, but they had them in Yonim and they laned Sav and they laned Emmer and they laned Bahar, they laned Bechukosai. When in the history of Klal Yisrael have we ever had a situation where we're not going to be a chazak v'nis chazek, and not just chazak v'nis chazek, that we're not going to have heard the entire Vayikra, the whole Sefer Vayikra? What does that mean to Klal Yisrael, Rabbi Isai? What does it mean that the whole Klal Yisrael didn't hear Vayikra? It means that we have to go into the Pnimius of Vayikra and understand here, what's the message of the whole Sefer Vayikra? The message of the whole Sefer Vayikra, the Medrash on Vayikra is called Toiras Kaihanim. What does it mean, Toiras Kaihanim? I always thought maybe Toiras Kaihanim means, because there's a lot of stuff about the Kaihanim, the Avodah, the Karbanis, Emor speaking to the Kaihanim. But Rabbi said it doesn't shtim. It doesn't shtim. Then why is it the whole last chelik over here about Amelis Patayra and all the halachas of business, of ribbis, and I know all in this week's parsha? And why all the Yomim Tovim in last week's parsha? And why Rabbi say about the parsha of Arayis, which has nothing to do with Kayanim? What's going on? What is the message of Toiras Kayanim, Rabbi say? My Leiv tells me that you know what the message of Vayikra is, and the message of Toiras Kayanim is that Klal Yisrael with the Mamleches Kayanim v'Am Kadosh. Klal Yisrael, the Mamleches Kayanim, and the whole Sefer Vayikra is telling a Yid, you're a Mamleches Kayanim, you're a higher level people, you're special people. It starts out with the Avodah Karbanis, which is our tefillah of Klal Yisrael. And then we get into Mitzrayim, how a Yid is supposed to talk, how he's supposed to talk to another Yid, not with Chalila, with not Lashon Hara. And then we continue into Vayikra. You get into the parshas of Arayis, the Kedusha of Yisrael, the Kaddish, the Kedoshim Tiyu, and then you get into the Yid, the relationship, the interpersonal relationships after the Rakamoicha. Then you get finally into a Yid, into the Yamim Toivim of a Yid. And then where's the most Mamleches Kayanim Vam Kaddish? How a Yid is in every single aspect of Mamleches Kayanim, even in its financial life, even in its monetary life. A Yid, the money's not mine. The money comes from the Elik of Hashem, the money's the Rebbeinu Shalom. You're a treasurer of the Rebbeinu Shalom's money, till the point where finally the Torah tells us what's a Yid. A Yid is how he davens, and a Yid is how he talks to another Yid, and a Yid is his financial life, and a Yid is his Yamim Tovim, and a Yid is his Shabbos. And what's a Yid? A Yid is an Amul B'Torah, and that whole picture is the Mamleches Kohanim v'Am Kodesh. So if we get to the Pnimius, Rabbi say, we weren't zeichet to hear the laning in the shul. And if either the message is bara that the Rebbeinu Shalom is telling us that you should be oisik in a being a mamleches kohanim v'goy kodesh. And with that, I tell you, Rabbi said, to be chazak and be nischazik in that. To be mechazik yourselves in being a mamleches kohanim v'am kodesh. I'm a yid. My davening is different. My amelis b'toyer is different. The way the Rebbeinu Shalom gives me the money, it's not my guilt. Rabbi said, let me be Messiah. I was speaking to somebody. Rabbi said, when I was growing up, there was something called a millionaire. Now there's something called a billionaire. I was speaking to somebody recently. He's a Pashid. He's not a billionaire. He's a multi-billionaire. Peladik. He's a Pashid multi-billionaire. And I asked him a question. I told him, Zugmir, one thing. I know you're a billionaire. Tell me one thing. One question I have for you. Is it possible even for you to spend all your money? That was my question. Is it possible? He told me it would be very irresponsible for me to spend all my money. I could buy, he said I could buy other businesses and whatever, but to actually spend all my money, it would be much irresponsible. There's just so many Fords you can buy and Chevrolets you could buy. There's just so many you could buy, Rabbi Say. There's just so big a house that you can make, right? There's just so much. It would be irresponsible for me. That's what he told me. Is Rabbi Say, so what's the difference between me and him? The difference is very simple. The difference is simple. It's true, he's got a nicer car. He's got a nicer house. Right? It's true. When he goes to the supermarket, he doesn't have to cheshbon out what to buy and what not to buy, etc. Okay. But Rabbi say, it's more than that. It's more than that. It's the thought that he's a billionaire. When he buys a car, it's a billionaire buying a car. It's true. He's not going to be able to spend all the money. He's not going to be able to spend all the ganze billions of dollars. It's impossible. It would be irresponsible. It's true. It's true. But Rabbi say, but it's a billionaire who's buying that car now. So when he buys that car, he buys it on a different level. He buys a car, he doesn't buy, he buys a car because it's a billionaire buying a car. He buys a house. It's not a house. It's a billionaire buying a house. He's not going to spend all the money, but it's a billionaire who's buying that item. Rabbi say, The Rebbeinu Shalom made you a Mamleches Kayanim ve'am Kadosh. You say, I'm not the Chaim Kanievsky. I'm not the tzaddikim. I'm not from the tzaddikim. I'm not like that. I'm not the Kol Chaim. I'm not Rabbi Kiva Eger. I'm not going to be like that. It's true. It's true. But Rabbi said you have a bank account. In your bank account, you have Mamleches Kayanim ve'goy Kadosh. In your bank account, you're Sefer Vayikra. Your Torah's Kayanim. Which Kayanim? The Torah of Klal Yisrael. So then when you do any of your actions, it's true, you might not be the Gadol Ador, you might not be the Tzaddik Ador. But what's the difference? When you daven, it's a billionaire davening now. So then every single action, when you learn a Blat Gemara right now, this morning, you're going to learn a Daf Gemara. When you're going to have a Shabbos table. So you're having a Shabbos, so then it's a billionaire having a Shabbos table. It's a Mamleches Kayanim Goy Kodesh that's having a Shabbos table. So then it's a different Shabbos table. That's why the Rebbeinu Shalom packed us up with all that Mamleches Kayanim. You're never going to spend it all, Rabbi Say. I have not enough. Don't worry. We're not choshed to spend all of that money. But Akoponim, remember, Rabbi Say, your Mamleches Kayanim, the Goy Kodesh, is Rabbi Say, the Rebbeinu Shalom should bench you all. Chazak, chazak, nis chazek. Be mechazik yourselves in Mamleches Kayanim, in the way you daven, in the way you steig. And remember, it's all the Rebbeinu Shalom. The only thing that is yours is your Torah, is your Tefillah, is the Lekach Toiv Nasati Lachem. Rebbeinu Shalom should bench you. Be'ezus Hashem, with chazak, chazak, v'nis chazek, in every which way, in with gesund, in health, in parnasa, in bracha, in amelis b'Torah, in a hava for Torah, in a shaykhs to the Rebbeinu Shalom, and we should be zeicha bez Hashem, the bez Hashem. When we say chazak, chazak, v'nis chazek in Parshas Bamid, this end of Parshas Bamid, Rabbi say, so we'll be saying it with them, goyse shmeichel, goyse shmeichel, we'll be chazak, we'll be nischazik, and we'll be back together in Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh, b'mheira, b'yameinu, amen. It's Shabbos, Rabbi say.
Amen.
Miss you all, Rabbi Say. Chazak, chazak, v'nis chazek, Rabbi Sher.